What if the very meat sitting on your dinner plate tonight is quietly pushing your kidneys closer to failure, and you don't even know it yet? If you're over 50, if you've ever seen your creatinine creep up on a lab report, if you've been told your blood pressure is a little high, then this is not just another nutrition video. This is something you need to hear, because kidney damage in America rarely happens overnight. It builds silently meal after meal, year after year, until one day your doctor says the words no one wants to hear. Your kidney function is declining, and by then, the damage is already in motion. I'm Dr. Mark Ellis, and after years of working with patients who thought they were eating healthy, I can tell you something most people don't realize. It's not always about eating less meat. It's about choosing the right kind of meat. Some proteins create more waste, more acid, more inflammatory stress that your kidneys must filter out day and night. Others are cleaner, easier to process, and can actually reduce the burden on these two life-saving organs that work for you 24 hours a day without rest. The difference between those choices may determine whether your kidneys struggle or slowly begin to recover. And today I'm going to show you 4 specific meats that are commonly recommended in kidney-friendly diets across the United States. Not just what they are, but why they matter, how they protect you, and the critical mistake in preparation that can turn a healthy choice into hidden harm. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to put on your plate, and just as importantly, what to avoid if you truly want to protect your kidneys before it's too late. Skinless chicken breast may look ordinary on your plate, but when it comes to kidney protection, it is anything but ordinary. This is what I call a clean protein advantage. Not all protein is equal inside the body. Some sources leave behind a heavy metabolic footprint, more nitrogen waste, more acid load, more stress on the tiny filtering units inside your kidneys. Skinless chicken breast, when prepared correctly, produces significantly less metabolic waste compared to red meat. And that difference may be the quiet line between stability and slow decline. Let me tell you about David, a 62-year-old patient who came to my clinic convinced he was eating healthy. He had cut back on steak and switched to leaner options, but his labs told a different story. His blood urea nitrogen BUN had been creeping up, and his estimated GFR was slowly dropping year after year. The change that made the first measurable difference wasn't dramatic. He didn't go vegetarian. He didn't eliminate protein. He simply replaced most red meat with simple, unprocessed, skinless chicken breasts prepared without heavy seasoning. Within 3 months, his BUN levels stabilized. Within 6, his numbers improved enough that his nephrologist actually paused a medication adjustment. That's not magic. That's metabolic efficiency. Clinical nutrition research consistently shows that lean poultry produces lower nitrogen waste compared to red meat. Lower nitrogen waste means less filtering pressure on the kidneys. Chicken breast also contains less phosphorus than many red meats, and that matters more than most people realize. When kidney function begins to decline, phosphorus clearance drops. Elevated phosphorus levels are linked not only to bone weakening, but also to vascular calcification, a hidden driver of both heart disease and kidney progression. Add to that the fact that chicken breast is naturally low in saturated fat, and you begin to see why it supports vascular health. And healthy blood vessels are critical because your kidneys rely entirely on steady blood flow to filter toxins effectively. But here's where most people unknowingly sabotage this benefit. The moment chicken is fried, breaded, processed into nuggets, or injected with sodium-based solutions, it stops being a kidney-friendly food. Sodium spikes blood pressure. Phosphate additives are absorbed more aggressively than natural phosphorus and can accumulate quickly and compromise kidneys. A healthy choice becomes a silent accelerant. That's why preparation is not a small detail. It is the difference between protection and progression. If you choose skinless chicken breast, keep it simple. Baked, steamed, lightly grilled, seasoned with herbs, garlic, lemon, not salt-heavy marinades or processed coatings. Your kidneys do not need complexity. They need less workload, less inflammatory stress, and fewer additives competing for filtration. And if you're listening right now thinking, I eat chicken all the time, ask yourself honestly, is it fresh, simple, and unprocessed? Or is it packaged, flavored, and sodium loaded? Drop a comment if you've ever assumed chicken was automatically healthy without checking how it was prepared. I read everyone, because understanding this first layer, clean protein versus processed protein, is powerful. But it's only the beginning. There's another factor hiding inside common meats that most people overlook entirely, and it may be even more dangerous for your kidneys over time. And that brings us to the next choice, one that looks healthy on the surface but carries a very different metabolic story. Now here's where things get interesting, because even if you've switched to chicken, there's another protein that looks just as lean on the surface, yet carries a very different metabolic story: lean turkey. At first glance, turkey feels like a safe upgrade. It's marketed as heart-healthy, fitness-friendly, even weight loss approved. But when we zoom in, what really matters for your kidneys isn't marketing, it's purine load and uric acid production. Let me explain. Purines are natural compounds found in many meats, and when your body breaks them down, they form uric acid. In healthy kidneys, uric acid is filtered efficiently. But when kidney function starts to decline, even slightly, uric acid can accumulate. Elevated uric acid has been linked to inflammation, endothelial dysfunction, and faster progression of chronic kidney disease. Lean turkey, compared to red meat, contains a moderate purine load, significantly lower than beef, but still something that must be managed through portion control and preparation. I remember a patient named Robert, 58, who had early-stage CKD and recurring gout flares. He thought eliminating red meat was enough, but he was eating deli turkey sandwiches, daily processed, sodium-loaded, phosphate preserved. His uric acid levels stayed high. When we switched him to fresh unprocessed turkey breast, limited to appropriate portions, and prepared simply no smoking, no curing, his uric acid stabilized within months and his flare frequency dropped dramatically. The difference wasn't the meat itself. It was the form and the frequency. Scientific data supports this. Processed turkey products often contain phosphate additives, which are absorbed at rates exceeding 90%, placing additional strain on compromised kidneys. Fresh turkey, by contrast, offers selenium and B vitamins that support antioxidant defense and cellular energy metabolism, two factors that indirectly protect kidney tissue from oxidative stress. So if you choose turkey, choose it fresh. Bake it, roast it lightly. Avoid the deli counter versions labeled low-fat but packed with sodium. And ask yourself honestly, are you eating turkey as a whole food or as a processed convenience? But knowing this alone isn't enough, because there's another factor, even more dangerous one, that most people assume is automatically safe simply because it comes from the sea. And that brings us to what many people confidently call the safest category of all white fish: cod, tilapia, haddock, clean, light, ocean-sourced protein. On paper, this is where kidney-friendly nutrition starts to look almost ideal. White fish is naturally low in saturated fat, easier to digest than red meat, and produces less metabolic residue during breakdown. For kidneys that are already working overtime, that lighter load can make a measurable difference. Here's what most people don't realize. Your kidneys are not just filters, they are vascular organs. Every tiny filtering unit depends on healthy blood flow. White fish contains modest amounts of omega-3 fatty acids, which research consistently links to reduced inflammation and improved endothelial function. Less inflammation means less oxidative stress inside those delicate filtering membranes. In fact, several clinical studies have shown that diets incorporating lean fish instead of red meat are associated with slower progression of chronic kidney disease and better cardiovascular outcomes. And remember, heart health and kidney health are inseparable. I once worked with a patient named Linda, 64, who loved grilled salmon but avoided white fish because she thought it was less nutritious. Her creatinine levels were slowly climbing. We didn't overhaul her entire diet. We simply replaced several weekly red meat meals with baked cod and haddock, lightly seasoned, no breading, no heavy sauces. Within months, her inflammatory markers improved and her blood pressure became easier to manage. The change wasn't dramatic, it was consistent. And consistency is what kidneys respond to. But here's the hidden trap. Many frozen fish fillets in American supermarkets are injected with sodium-based solutions to preserve texture and extend shelf life. That added sodium silently raises blood pressure, and high blood pressure is one of the leading drivers of kidney decline. A food that looks clean can quietly become a sodium bomb if you don't read the label. Fresh or minimally processed fish is protective. Sodium-enhanced fish is not. So if you're choosing white fish, choose it wisely. Bake it, steam it, pair it with vegetables, herbs, lemon, not salt, heavy marinades. And ask yourself, are you eating fish in its natural form? Or are you eating a processed version disguised as healthy? But knowing this still isn't enough, because the final protein on this list is the one that surprises people the most. And for some, it may be the deciding factor between stable kidney function and the road toward dialysis. And now we arrive at the one protein that surprises almost everyone I speak to: fresh shrimp. It's light, it's low in fat. It feels clean, almost diet-friendly. For many Americans, trying to eat healthier shrimp becomes the automatic swap for steak or burgers. But when it comes to kidney protection, shrimp is what I call a sometimes food, not an everyday staple. And here's why that distinction matters. Shrimp does offer high-quality protein with relatively low saturated fat, and it contains important nutrients like iodine and small amounts of antioxidants that support thyroid and cellular function. From a metabolic standpoint, it's not inherently harmful. The problem is context, frequency, portion size, and the hidden biochemical load it carries. Shrimp is naturally higher in cholesterol and contains moderate purine levels, which means it can increase uric acid production when consumed frequently. For someone with declining kidney function, elevated uric acid isn't just a gout issue, it's an inflammatory trigger that can accelerate kidney damage over time. I once treated a 66-year-old patient, Michael, who proudly told me he had cut out red meat completely. What replaced it? Shrimp, 4 or 5 times a week. His uric acid levels rose steadily, and his blood pressure remained stubbornly elevated. When we reduced shrimp to once weekly and balanced it with lean poultry and white fish, his labs began stabilizing. Not overnight, but predictably. That's the pattern. Kidneys respond to moderation, not extremes. There's another layer most people miss. Restaurant shrimp dishes, especially fried, breaded, or heavily salted versions, can carry staggering sodium loads. High sodium intake directly increases blood pressure, and chronic hypertension is one of the fastest drivers toward dialysis in the United States. The protein itself isn't the enemy. The preparation and frequency are. So if you enjoy shrimp, keep it simple, fresh, steamed, lightly sautéed, without heavy sauces and controlled portions. Think of it as an occasional rotation protein, not a daily foundation. Because kidney protection isn't about eliminating foods in fear, it's about understanding metabolic impact and making deliberate choices. But just knowing which meats to rotate isn't the final answer. The real long-term protection comes down to something even more powerful than any single protein, and it may determine whether your kidneys merely survive or truly stabilize over the years ahead. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, it's this: your kidneys are not fragile, but they are responsive. They respond to what you consistently put on your plate. They respond to portion size. They respond to sodium. They respond to inflammation. And most importantly, they respond to small, steady improvements. You don't need a radical diet. You don't need fear. You need awareness and better choices repeated daily. Choose clean, unprocessed proteins. Rotate wisely. Control portions. Read labels. Keep sodium in check. These are not extreme steps, they are practical protections. And if your lab numbers have already started shifting, understand this clearly: decline is not always permanent. Stabilization is possible. Slowing progression is possible. In some cases, improvement is possible. But it starts before the crisis, not after. If this video helped you see food differently, take a moment right now and save it. You may want to revisit these guidelines before your next grocery trip or your next doctor's appointment. And subscribe to the channel, because every week I share evidence-based medical insights designed to help you protect your kidneys, your heart, and your long-term health without hype, without confusion, just clear science you can apply immediately. Your kidneys work for you every second of every day. The least we can do is support them with informed decisions. You are not powerless in this process. The future of your kidney health is shaped by what you choose next, and that choice begins today.